Want to share your screen or do you want to talk about it? It's completely up to you with your approach here.
I have a presentation, so could I just share my screen?
Awesome. Yeah. Let me stop sharing on my side.
And to generate this content, it uses a language model, which is trained with huge amounts of data. And there are two types. There's large language models, which use large amounts of data, and are more costly to train and use. An example of this is ChatGPT. And then there are small language models. They work on specific topic areas, local applications, and agents on device, like Google Gemma, which you really don't interact with. It just kind of controls the systems on your device. And to interact with generative AI, we use prompts or statements or questions that initiate this generation. And models are able to understand our prompts because they understand semantic relationships or know how words relate to one another. And then there's natural language processing. Generative AI is able to use natural language processing, which is making sense of a language. It uses language detection, which what language it's written in, text classification, or assigning specific categories to the text, and key term extraction and an identity detection, which identifies keywords or phrases and mentions of entities. Some of its specialized uses are redacting personal identifiable information and stopping this private information from being exposed to the public so it can gather it or just block it out. And it also does summarization, which encapsulates the main points and reduces the text volume of the inputted text. It is also able to use speech recognition, which is the ability of AI to interpret speech, usually through speech to text. It's used to transcript calls, such meetings, videos, and automating speech translations. And it also uses speech synthesis, which is the ability of AI to speak or vocalize words of a language, usually text to speech. Also used in speech translations, and it is advancing to sound more human like. Computer vision. This is basically explaining how AI analyzes visual input. So, AI is trained by using a large number of images, and there are multiple types of classifications it uses. So, there's image classification, where after being trained with labeled images, AI can identify the main subject of the image and appropriately label it. And then there's detection, where AI is able to locate a specific object. As you can see in the picture beside it, it usually uses boxes and it's able to assign classifications like person, dog, car, traffic light, and then semantic segmentation, which is more advanced object detection using the individual pixels that belong to the object. So instead of boxes, it's able to zoom in and maybe identify stuff further in the background rather than just what's right in front of the camera. And there's also multi-module, where by combining visual parts and text descriptions, AI is able to generate more advanced descriptions of the given image. So, beyond the captions in the image and beyond the people, it's able to establish what's going on or really like what the mood of the image could be. And information extraction. So, AI is used to automate information extraction or find information in insight. So, there's optical charter recognition, which is computer vision technology that identifies the location of text and images and is the basis for document analysis. Optical charter recognition is often paired with other models that interpret the individual values. So, like in the previous slide with the image extraction and classification, it's able to find the text in those images or into the documents you generate and be able to better analyze it more specifically. And by using other models, it can go into more specialized areas rather than just general. And right now, information extraction is advancing from just text based forms to audio, video, and images. So it can expand from just inserting a document. And this is principles for responsible AI. So this is basically like what people who the developers and the companies who own AI, this is what they're responsible for and what they're supposed to be implementing. So, fairness. AI developers and corporations that own AI should minimize the bias in training data and test systems for bias so that it doesn't discriminate against information types or show a specific bias to the user. Reliability and safety. AI is not perfect, and applications need to understand this to minimize risks. So, for example, in ChatGPT, right under the chat box, you can always see that AI is not always correct. Check important information. That's an example of how they implement these principles. And then there's privacy and security. If the training data contains personal information, the developer has to ensure that the data and AI is kept secure and does not reveal private information. So that's what I was talking about before, where it could be able to analyze the information given to it and redact any of that personal information like phone numbers, addresses, social security numbers that could potentially endanger the user and the people who inputted the information. Inclusiveness. Solutions in AI should be open to everyone. So an example of that is the speech synthesis and the ability of like AI to speak and interpret speech. So for certain people who like cannot hear or are deaf, then they can use the speech synthesis to be able to communicate with AI. And transparency. Users should be made aware how AI works and its limitations. So basically, many people see AI as magic with how it works, but in reality, they should use programs like this and courses like this to further educate the population into how AI works so that we can actually understand it. And then there's accountability. People and organizations that develop AI take responsibility for it and ensure that they apply the responsible AI principles. And so this course actually had a really cool small language AI called Anton AI, and you could basically ask it questions about how generative AI works. And it gets really specific and really helps to explain it. And to the right is like one of the questions I asked, which is like, how does a large language model work? And then they kind of, it really helped. It really helped me to understand the harder to explain information. So Anton AI is Microsoft introduction. AI provides special AI called Ask Anton to answer questions about generative AI. It's an example of a small language model, and although its knowledge is not very large, it helps explain the contents of the course. So it also goes to show the limitations of small language models, because if you ask it how it stores AI and what the how you store the data or how you train it, it is a little bit it is unable to answer those and directs you to other pages for those answers. And what I learned is that through this, I learned more about AI, how it's developed, and how it works. And with AI becoming so prevalent in our world, I think this course was useful because it educated me on the basics and gave me a deeper understanding, which I could use to better use AI and go farther in the world that will be dominated with AI in the future. Thank you.
All right, awesome. That was great, Eva. I gotta say, you are a really good speaker. You're a really good presenter. It seems like it comes very natural to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it reminds me of Victoria. She's a really good presenter too. Awesome, great. All right, so in terms of next steps, you know what, Eva, since you did a really good job with the presentation, I'm gonna double the points for you. So I'm gonna make it 50, and I'm just gonna deposit them into your dashboard. Okay, so I'll make a note of that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.